Last Hirdig, I want to welcome the Minister to the House, and I want to endorse the remarks that have been made around the House in relation to the Minister's personal achievements as Minister. He isn't, as Senator Ward said, he hasn't been there for years. He's been there for less than a year. Let's remember this. And during that year, he's had a torrid time. And cowardly keyboard warriors have used anonymity in the most vile campaign of abuse against him. And I totally dissociate myself from that. And I want to compliment those, including our Oireachtas colleague, Cathal Berry, who are doing the jabbing in a most efficient and courteous way. Now, having said that, I want to make a few points. First of all, I fully endorse what has been said virtually by every speaker in this House. This should not be coming before the House in these circumstances. This day has been clear for a long, long time. It's not a mystery that the sunset clause was coming today. And this amendment is not just to bring things out to next November. It is, as Senator Higgins said, it is to put in place the power to indefinitely keep re-extending these powers ad nauseam. So let's be clear about this. That is what this bill does. It isn't a time-limited measure at all, because the House of the Oireachtas, when they're confronted with a motion to extend, it's a binary yes or no, no inquiry as to whether it was good, bad or indifferent, or whether the regulations worked well or didn't work well, or whether right things were done or wrong things were done. None of that, just simply vote yes or no, and the party whips will see it through. So that's what we're voting for today. The second thing I want to say is that these Houses of the Oireachtas have failed miserably over the last year. The Oireachtas Commission should not be proud of what it has done. The fact that we are attributing a couple of hours today and an hour tomorrow to this legislation is a scandal and should be called out for it what it is. It's a scandal. There was, before this government was formed, an all-party Dáil committee chaired by Michael McNamara. Its function was to keep the whole COVID scrutiny issue under control. It was disbanded, and a complete untruth was propagated as to why it was being disbanded, and that was that the sectoral committees would deal with the COVID crisis quite adequately, and that was the way to go. That suits ministers, that suits the establishment perhaps in this House, but it didn't happen. NPHET was never really made accountable to that committee. It came in on one occasion, or maybe two, and it wasn't a pretty sight. We now have to understand that it's our duty to insist on accountability, and that we're not just going to give a licence, a broad blank cheque to the government just to continue on as if nothing had happened. And we as a Parliament have to get our act together too, and that involves, by the way, acknowledging, and it may be politically unpopular, that every member of this House and their staff are vital workers in the democratic process and should get the jab as quickly as possible so that we can resume normal business and have a normal scrutiny of parliamentary activity as the Constitution requires. It just requires a little bit of courage to say that should be done. And I know that people would say, oh, they're jumping the queue. It's not jumping the queue, because today the queue has brought us to the point where we are rubber stamping something and giving this open-ended licence to continue to keep these emergency provisions in place. There are many issues that I would love to have dealt with if there was more time. I'd love to have dealt with the announcement by the British Home Secretary, Priti Patel, that she has a new immigration system and cards entry system into the UK, and how that's going to integrate with the Irish Common Travel Area. I'd love to talk about how our relationship with the Schengen travel arrangements is really going to function. There are many, many issues that we are allowing to go undebated and undiscussed in this House. I'd love to go back and see, was it really necessary, or is it really necessary? And if there is a third wave or a fourth wave or whatever, or a new variant, is it ever sensible to say that inter-county travel should be banned? Is it ever sensible to do that? Show me, get me Philip Nolan before a committee and demonstrate to me that banning inter-county travel and imposing a 5-kilometre route is a way to deal with it. So I'll finish on this. We should not be doing what we are doing today. It's wrong. It's weak. We don't, and the final point I want to make is this, through the chair. We don't even have leaders and whips meetings to decide on the business of this House anymore. And that is something which is scandalous. At least in the last Senate, when I and others supported this emergency legislation when it was first put down, it was done on the basis of a discussion beforehand as to how much time would be available. Now that has disappeared. And I appeal to the members of this House to make it very clear to the Oireachtas Commission in particular, we want to get back to business. We do not want to be suspended. And the amendments that we have put down for the 30th of September were to allow this House to come back and function normally, and to allow the government time, if there were a case for an extension, to make it to a fully functioning Oireachtas, both Houses. Thank you, Chair.
More than indulgent, because I have a lot of sympathy for what you say. Senator